Here's a list of spells taken from the Spell Compendium. 1. Ray of Depletion. Ray causes depletion of psionic power points. 2. Necro Ray of Depletion. Ray causes depletion of psionic power points. A shimmering ray springs from your hand to disrupt the mental fabric of psionically empowered beings, causing them a loss of power points. You must succeed at a ranged touch attack to strike a target. The Ray of Depletion affects only targets possessing psionic power points. Non-psionic beings hit by a ray register some momentary unpleasant sensory awareness, but not so much as to disrupt an action or concentration. Affected targets suffer a temporary loss of a number of psionic power points equal to 1 plus half the attacker's caster level, round down. Thus, 10th level casters would deplete 6 points. The victim's available psionic power points total can never drop below 0. Lost psionic power points are regained through normal means. 3. Dimensional Anchor. A green ray springs from your outstretched hand. You must make a ranged touch attack to hit the target. Any creature or object struck is covered with a shimmering emerald field that completely blocks bodily extra-dimensional travel. Forms of movement barred by the dimensional anchor includes astral projection, blink, dimension, door, ethereal jaunt, etherealness, gate, maze, plane shift, shadow walk, teleport, and similar spell-like or psionic abilities. It prevents the use of a gate or teleportation circle for the duration of the spell. The dimensional anchor does not interfere with the movement of creatures already in ethereal or astral form when the spell is cast, nor does it block extra-dimensional perception or attack forms such as a basilic's gaze. Also, it does not prevent summoned creatures from disappearing at the end of a summoning spell. 4. Dimensional Lock. You create a field that completely blocks bodily extra-dimensional travel. Forms of movement barred include astral projection, blink, dimensional door, ethereal jaunt, etherealness, gate, maze, phasing, plane shift, shadow walk, teleport, and similar spell-like or psionic abilities. The dimensional lock does not interfere with the movement of creatures already in ethereal or astral form when the spell is cast. Nor does it block extra-dimensional perception or attack forms such as a basilic's gaze. Dimensional lock does not prevent summoning creatures from disappearing at the end of the summoning spell. Once the spell is in place, however, extra-dimensional travel into or out of the affected area is not possible. 5. Sleep. A sleep spell causes a comatose slumber to come upon one or more creatures. Roll 2d4 to determine how many total HD of creatures can be affected. Creatures with the fewest HD are affected first. Among creatures with equal HD, those who are closest to the spell's point of origin are affected first. No creature with 5 or more HD is affected, and HD that are not sufficient to affect the creatures are wasted. Creatures with fewer HD are affected first. For example, Melee casts Sleep at 3 kobolds, half HD, 2 gnolls, 2 HD, an ogre, 4 HD. The row 2d4 result is 4. All 3 kobolds and 1 gnoll are affected. That's half plus half plus half plus 2 equals 3. Half HD. No, equals 3.5 HD. The remaining half HD is not enough to affect the last Gnoll or the Ogre. Melee can't choose to have sleep affect the Ogre or the two Gnolls. Sleeping creatures are helpless. Slapping or wounding awakens affected creatures. Sleeping or wounding awakens affected creatures, but normal noise does not. Awaking a creature is a standard action. An application of the aid another action. Sleep does not target unconscious creatures, constructs, or undead creatures. Note, extra hit points are irrelevant for determining how many HD a creature has. An ogre with 4d8 plus 8 hit points still has only 4 HD and can be affected by the spell. Arcane material component. A pinch of fine sand, rose petals, or a live cricket. 6. Warning. Warning shout. You speak up to 5 words which are magically amplified to be heard by all hearing creatures within half a mile. All within the area hear the words as loud as you spoke them. The spell does not harm people who hear it and cannot transmit magical effects, such as a harpy's song, sonic spells, or charm effects. Although a creature already affected by the magic effect, such as a suggestion, could respond to a non-magical trigger word deployed by a warning shout. Anyone sleeping naturally, as opposed to magically induced sleep, such as from a sleep spell, within the area, is woken by the warning shout. 7. Death Domain. You may use a Death Touch once per day. Your Death Touch is a spell-like ability that is a death effect. You must succeed at a melee touch attack against a living creature, using the rules for touch spells. When you touch, roll 1d6 per your cleric level. If the total at least equals the creature's current hit points, it does. Ghost form. You assume a visible incorporeal form similar to the form a ghost assumes when manifesting. While the spell lasts, your body shifts into the ethereal plane. You are visible to and can be attacked by creatures of the material plane, but you have no material body. You can be harmed only by other incorporeal creatures, +1 or better magic weapons and spells, spell-like abilities, or supernatural abilities. You are immune to all non-magical attack forms. Even when hit by spells or magical weapons, you have a 50% chance to ignore any damage from a corporeal source, except for force effects, such as magic missiles or attacks made with ghost touch weapons. Creatures on the material plane ignore all your armor and natural armor bonuses, but you gain a deflection modifier equal to your charisma modifier, always at least +1, even if your charisma score does not normally provide a bonus. You cannot make physical attacks against foes on the material plane except with ghost touch weapons. In this case, you have no effective strength score. Your dexterity modifier applies to all your melee attack rolls. Your spells affect targets on the material plane normally unless the spells rely on touch. Your touch spells don't work on material targets. Against foes on the ethereal plane, all your attacks and defenses work normally. While incorporeal, you cannot run, but you can fly. Perfect maneuverability at your normal speed. You can pass through solid objects as an incorporeal creature can. When the spell ends, you return fully to the material plane. If you return inside a material object, such as a solid wall, you are shunted off to the nearest open space and take 1d6 points of damage per 5 feet that you so travel. 9. Crown of Glory. You are imbued with an aura of celestial authority, inspiring awe in all lesser creatures that behold your terrible perfection in righteousness. You gain a +4 enhancement bonus to your charisma score for the duration of the spell. All creatures with fewer than HAD or levels cease whatever they are doing and are compelled to pay attention to you. Any such creature that wants to take hostile action against you must make a successful will save to do so. Any creature that does not make this saving throw the first time it attempts a hostile action is enthralled for the duration of the spell as the enthralled spell, as long as it is in the spell's area, nor will it try to leave the area on its own. Creatures with HHD or more may pay attention to you, but are not affected by this spell. When you speak, all listeners telepathically understand you, even if you do not understand their language. While the spell lasts, you can make up to 3 suggestions to creatures of less than 8 HD in range, as if using the mass suggestion spell. Will save negates. Creatures with 8 HD or more aren't affected by this power. Only creatures within range at the time a suggestion is given are subject to it. Material component: an opal worth at least 2,000 gold pieces. 10. Symbol. This spell allows you to scribe any of the potent runes described below. A symbol can be quickly scribed in the air or on some surface. Alternatively, you can carefully inscribe it on a surface. The symbol harms those who trigger it, usually those who pass over it, touch it, read it, etc. A quickly scribed symbol has a casting time of 1 action. The resulting rune becomes active immediately. It lasts 10 minutes per caster level and glows faintly while it lasts. Symbols of fear, hopelessness, pain, or persuasion can be used in this manner. Symbols of death, discord, insanity, pain, sleep, and stunning cannot. A carefully engraved symbol has a casting time of 10 minutes. The symbol is inactive when finished and remains so until triggered. Once triggered, it becomes active and glows, usually lasting 10 minutes per caster level. Some symbols can last indefinitely once triggered. For example, a symbol of death ends when it has slain 150 hit points worth of creatures. To be effective, a symbol must always be placed in plain sight and in a prominent location. Covering or hiding the rune renders the symbol ineffective. As a default, a symbol is triggered whenever a creature does one or more of the following, as you select: roads, touches or passes over the ruin, looks at the ruin, or passes through a portal bearing the ruin. In this case, reading the ruin means any attempt to study it, identify it, or fathom its meaning. Throwing a cover over a symbol to render it imperative triggers it if it reacts to touch. To trigger a symbol, a creature must be within 60 feet of the room. You can set special trigger conditions on your own. These can be as simple or elaborate as you desire. Special conditions for triggering a symbol can be based on the creature's name, identity, or alignment. but otherwise must be based on observable actions or qualities. Intangibles such as level, class, HD, and hit points don't qualify. For example, a symbol can be set to activate when a lawful good creature approaches, but not when a paladin approaches. A symbol's triggering conditions must always be defensive in nature. A touch-triggered symbol remains untriggered if an item bearing the symbol is used to touch a creature. Likewise, a symbol cannot be placed on a weapon and set to activate when the weapon strikes a foe. Once the spell is cast, a symbol's trigger conditions cannot be changed. You ignore the effect of your own symbols and cannot inadvertently trigger them. When scribing a symbol quickly, you can instantly attune any number of creatures to the symbol, rendering them immune to its effects, provided the creatures are within 60 feet of the rune when it is created and that you are aware of their presence. When creating a carefully inscribed symbol, you can specify a password or phrase that prevents a creature using it from triggering the symbol. You also can attune any number of creatures to the symbol, but doing this can extend the casting time. Attuning 1 or 2 creatures takes negligible time, and attuning a small group up to 10 creatures takes 1 hour. Attuning a large group up to 25 creatures takes 1 day. Attuning larger groups takes proportionally larger as the DM sees fit. When triggering a symbol affects all creatures within a 60-foot radius except for you and any individual attuned to it. If a symbol has a password, anyone using the password remains immune to that particular rune's effects, so long as the character remains within 60 feet of the rune. If the character leaves the radius and returns later, he must use the password again. Once triggered, a symbol remains active until its duration expires. Creatures who subsequently meet an active symbol's triggering conditions suffer its effects. A successful Dispel magic removes the effects of a symbol from a creature unless the symbol's effect is instantaneous, death, stunning, or the description specifies another remedy, insanity. The rune itself can be removed by a successful Dispel magic targeted solely on the rune. An erase spell has no effect on a symbol. Destruction of the surface where the symbol rests destroys the symbol, but also triggers its effects. Read magic allows you to identify a symbol with a successful spellcraft check, DC 19. Identifying the symbol does not discharge it and allows you to know the version of the symbol. Note: magic traps such as symbol are hard to detect and disable. A rogue only can use the search skill to find a symbol and disable device to thwart it. The DC in each case is 25 plus spell level, or 33 per symbol. A symbol can be rendered permanent with the Permanency Spell, provided it is carefully engraved upon a permanent, non-portable surface, such as a wall or door. A Permanency Spell extends a symbol's basic duration of 10 minutes per caster level indefinitely. When triggered, a permanent symbol usually glows and is active for about 10 minutes, but there is no limit to how many times it can be triggered. If the symbol can affect only a limited number of hit points worth of creatures, the limit applies each 10 minutes. For example, a permanent symbol of death could slay 150 hit points worth of creatures every 10 minutes. Known symbols include death, one or more creatures within the radius whose combined total hit points do not exceed 150 must succeed at fortitude saves or die. The symbol affects the closest creature first. Skipping creatures with too many hit points to effect. This symbol must be carefully engraved on a surface. Once triggered, the symbol lasts until it has affected 150 hit points worth of creatures. Discord. All creatures with an intelligence score of 3 or higher within 60 feet immediately fall into loud bickering and arguing. Meaningful communication is impossible. If the affected creatures have different alignments, there is a 50% chance that they attack each other. Bickering lasts 5d4 rounds. Fighting begins 1d4 rounds into the bickering and lasts 2d4 rounds. This symbol must be carefully engraved on a surface. Once triggered, the symbol lasts 10 minutes per caster level. This version is a mind-affecting spell. Fear. This symbol can be scribed quickly or carefully engraved on a surface. Creatures within the radius are affected by a powerful version of the fear spell. If scribed in the air, this symbol requires a will save to resist. If the rune is carefully inscribed, the save DC increases by 4. Once triggered, the symbol lasts 10 minutes per caster level. This version is a mind-affecting spell. Hopeless. All creatures within the radius must attempt will saves. If the rune is carefully engraved on a surface, the save DC increases by 4. If the save fails, the creature suffers from hopelessness for 3d4 times 10 minutes and submits to simple demands from foes, such as to surrender or get out. The effect is similar to that of the suggestion spell. If no foes are present to make demands, there is a 25% chance that the hopeless creature proves unable to take any action except hold its ground. If the creature remains free to act, there is a 25% chance it retreats from the rune at normal speed. In either case, the creature can defend normally if attacked. Once triggered, the symbol lasts 10 minutes per caster level. This version is a mind-affecting spell. Insanity. One or more creatures within the radius whose combined total hit points do not exceed 150 becomes insane, as the insanity spell will negates. The symbol affects the closest creature first, skipping creatures with too many hit points to affect. This symbol must be carefully engraved on a surface. Once triggered, the symbol lasts until it has affected 150 hit points worth of creatures. This version is a mind-affecting spell. Pain. Creatures within the radius suffer racking pains that reduce dexterity scores by 2 and impose a 0.4 penalty on attack rolls, skill checks, and ability checks. Fortitude negates. Both effects last 2d10 times 10 minutes. This symbol can be scribed quickly or carefully engraved on a surface. If carefully inscribed, the save DC increases by 4. Once triggered, the symbol lasts 10 minutes per caster's level. Persuasion. This symbol can be scribed quickly or carefully engraved on a surface. All creatures within the radius must succeed at will saves to resist. If the symbol is carefully inscribed, the save DC increases by 4. If the save fails, the creature becomes the same alignment as you for 1d20 times 10 minutes. During this time, affected creatures become friendly to you as though subjected to charmed person. This version is a mind-affecting spell. Sleep. Creatures within the radius fall into a catatonic slumber if they have 8 or fewer HD, will negates. Sleeping creatures cannot be awakened for 3d6 times 10 minutes. This symbol must be carefully engraved on a surface. Once triggered, the symbol lasts 10 minutes per caster level. This version is a mind-affecting spell. Stunning. One or more creatures within the radius whose total hit points do not exceed 250 become stunned. Fortitude negates. The symbol affects the closest creatures first, skipping creatures with too many hit points to affect. A stunned creature can't act and loses any dexterity bonus to AC. Attackers gain +2 bonus to attack it. In addition, the stunned creatures drop what they are holding. This symbol must be carefully engraved on a surface. Death Symbol of Bane. This type of symbol was created by the worshippers of Bane and lost until that dark deity was reborn in 1372 DR. A death symbol of Bane is always carefully engraved and never quickly scribed. It is triggered as you designate within the guidelines of the symbol spell. However, a person wearing a holy symbol of Bane never triggers the spell. A death symbol of Bane functions exactly like a symbol of death, except that any creature within 60 feet of the death symbol of Bane that survived must make 2 more fortitude saves. The first to avoid taking 1d12 points of cold damage, and the second to avoid the effects of a doom spell. This version of the symbol spell has the death and evil descriptors. Material component. A paste-made form. The symbol spell's material components. And the blood of intelligent sacrifice creatures, minimum 3 intelligent, whose hit dice total at least 30 that have been killed within the past year. Once the creature's blood is used for this spell, that same creature's blood cannot be used in the material component for another death symbol of Bane. Symbol of spell loss. This is another variant of the symbol spell. When triggered, the symbol of spell loss begins to attack the mind of spellcasters within 60 feet. Each caster must attempt a will saving throw every round he or she is in this area. Failure means that the highest level spell prepared by the spellcaster or highest level spell slot, if the character casts spells like a sorcerer or bard, is lost. The symbol remains until it has erased 30 levels of spells. The symbol attacks creatures with spell-like abilities as if they had spells. It has no effect on creatures without spells or spell-like abilities. This version of the symbol spell is a mind-affecting spell. Arcane material components. Quickly scribed symbol. A small amount of mercury and phosphoric material components. Carefully engraved symbol. Mercury and phosphorus. Plus powdered diamond and opal with a total value of at least 5,000 gold pieces each. 11. Nobility Domain. You have the spell-like ability to inspire allies, giving them a +2 moral bonus on saving throws, attack rolls, ability checks, skill checks, and weapon damage rolls. Allies must be able to hear you speak for 1 round. Using this ability is a standard action. It lasts a number of rounds equal to your charisma bonus and can be used once per day. 12. Mysticism Prestige Domain. You apply your charisma modifier, if positive, as a bonus on all saving throws. If you already have this ability, for example, because you are a paladin, you add +1 to the bonus. 13. Divine Favor. Calling upon the strength of wisdom of a deity, you gain a +1 luck bonus. 2. Attack and weapon damage rolls for every 3 caster levels you have. At least +1, maximum +3, or +6. The bonus doesn't apply to spell damage.